Hey everyone, and welcome to the NoDQ.com live recap of WrestleMania 36 Night 2. Thank you to everyone watching this live stream. I appreciate your viewership and your support. Make sure if you guys missed Night 1 recap, check it out on the NoDQ.com YouTube channel. Now, before we get started with tonight, I would like to address two super chats that I got from last night. The This Guy Experience with a $5 super chat said, "Things will never ever be the same after this. I hate to say this, but think 9/11, the world never went back." And then he added that the happy story is the Fiend overcoming the Machine. And then Scott Briller with a $2 super chat says, could this be The Undertaker's last ride in regards to Night 1 of WrestleMania? It's quite possible after this weekend, things in WWE may never be the same again. WWE may decide to do more of these cinematic matches. Maybe WWE will take more chances during this period where there are no arena shows. Time will tell on that. Basically, WWE is going to be forced into doing some different things, I think, with what's going on in the world right now. And to answer Scott Briller, I think it's going to be Undertaker's last WrestleMania match for sure. To me, that was the best way to end it. Now, I still think Undertaker will compete at Survivor Series, the 30-year anniversary of his debut, and that could be his final proper match in WWE. I would expect that to happen. Now, I do have some super chats coming in for tonight. Tom McCarthy with a $2 super chat says, 6.5 hour WrestleMania. Yeah, if you add Night 1 and Night 2 together, it was a very long WrestleMania, but I do like the fact that we got it split into two nights, and I'm hopeful that one of the changes moving forward will be that WrestleMania is a two-night event. Move the Hall of Fame permanently to SummerSlam weekend. I think that's the best way to go moving forward. I like the two separate nights. Gives us a little bit of breathing time, and I feel like the shows are more enjoyable when they're shorter. CS Productions with a $2 super chat says, Night 1 was much better. I'm definitely curious to see what you guys think about Night 1 versus Night 2, but we'll talk about that after I recap Night 2. Tony H with the $2 super chat says, WrestleMania coronavirus gets a 5 out of 10 from me. So, looks like Tony H was not totally sold on WrestleMania 36 as it was. DJ Whitey with a $2 super chat says, say it like Jericho Aaron again, LOL. There you go, DJ, again. Mike Nixon with a $10 super chat says, I wanted to do this for a long time. I have to say, for what they could do, Mania was very solid, and I give WWE some credit. I agree completely with you, Mike Nixon. I think, considering the circumstances, WWE put out almost the best show they possibly could have done. Now, was it the greatest wrestling show of all time? No, I would not say that by any stretch of the imagination, but was it overall a very entertaining show during a time when we needed to be entertained? I would say hell yes. Josh Mansfield with a $2 super chat says, I called the John Cena heel turn, but wasn't a fan of the match. Well, the question is, was it even a match? And of course, I'm making reference to the Firefly Funhouse, which we will talk about here in just a minute. Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat says, anything on WrestleMania 36 compared to Rock versus Steve Austin? No. And it's not really fair to compare this WrestleMania to any other WrestleMania. This was a beast of its own. And Ass Clap For You says WrestleMania was 6 out of 10, and I'm not going to say the rest of his super chat. Now that guy could be put in timeout. With that being said, let's move on here to the kickoff match, which was Liv Morgan versus Natalya. It was just a kickoff match. Not really much to say about it. It was 4 or 5 minutes long. They kept rolling each other up, but Liv got the best of Natalya and won the match. It was okay for what it was. It was just average kickoff match. Based Ash Ketchum with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. And thank you guys for the super chats. He says, WrestleMania, all this virus crap, WrestleMania 6 was amazing. With all this virus crap, WrestleMania 36 was amazing. Hashtag no DQ rocks. Thank you again for that. Let's get to the main card. So we had Stephanie McMahon welcoming us back for Night 2 of WrestleMania. And then Rob Gronkowski also welcomed us back to the festivities. We had Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton doing commentary for this second show, although there were a few matches that Michael Cole and JBL did. So I guess maybe the matches that Cole and JBL did were intended for a different night. I'm curious as to why Cole and JBL did the entire first show, and then they did 2 of the matches or 3 of the matches on this card, but it was mostly Phillips and Saxton for Night 2. That was a little strange. Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat. Thank you, Mike. He says, everything sucked Night 2 besides Edge versus Orton. Well, I will be reviewing these matches, and I will let you know if I agree with that sentiment or not. You'll have to wait and see. So the first match, Charlotte Flair challenging Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship. Charlotte got the upper hand early. She was trash talking, mocking Rhea Ripley, talking to the camera saying, "This is our NXT champion." Rhea hit the Riptide very early in the match. She got a near fall. They went back and forth. They brawled on the outside of the ring. They came back in. Rhea got some near falls. Charlotte missed a moonsault and then hit a spear to get another near fall. And then finally, Charlotte got the figure 4 on, transitioned into the figure 8, and Rhea Ripley tapped out to Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair is the new NXT Women's Champion. I have to say I was a little surprised by this outcome. I did not expect Charlotte Flair to win the title, especially when Rhea Ripley has been booked so strongly over the past several months as champion. But I guess this is Charlotte moving on up, I guess, by becoming NXT Women's Champion. She's now an 11-time world champion, one step closer to reaching her father's record. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, when Rob, whatever his name is, talked, did you get a Chris Candido vibe? Man, I hope this Rob guy doesn't become a performer. Rest in peace, Chris Candido. Rob Gronkowski, I think you're talking about. Just say Gronk, because when you say Rob, first thing I think is Robbie Vice from the No DQ panel. Anyways, I never got that vibe. I mean, I'm like half invested when Gronk is talking, so I really don't associate him with any act. But people in the chat room, does Rob Gronkowski sound like Chris Candido? Let me know in the chat room. Opening match was fine. I thought it was a good match. But I don't know, like all the grunting kind of distracted me a little bit. I think that this match would have been better with a live crowd, but you could really say that about a lot of the matches on the show, in my opinion. I was just surprised that Charlotte won, quite frankly. And I think, speaking of Robbie Vice, I think he was the only one on our panel, our predictions league, that got this one right. I think all of us picked Rhea Ripley except for him. We had Alistair Black versus Bobby Lashley, which, as I expected, was a nothing match. I mean, it was technically okay for what it was, but no build-up. It just felt like a Raw match. I mean, that's really all it was. It was just your average Raw TV match. Lana was the difference maker, though, so we did have a little bit of a storyline brewing here, I guess you could say. Lashley wanted to go for a Dominator because he had attempted a spear earlier, and Black was able to counter out of it. Lana was instructing Lashley to go for a spear. So Lashley went for a spear. Instead, he got hit with the Black Mass. 1, 2, 3. Alistair Black picked up the win. So I guess this is the beginning of Lana and Lashley having their split, their divorce, whatever you want to call it at this point. I guess in that sense, we got something out of this. But yeah, the match itself just felt like an average Raw TV match to me. Let's see here. Andreas Morales with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. He says, we as fans give WWE so much shit, but these last 2 nights have been amazing during hard times. Thank you, WWE and No DQ. Well, again, thank you for the super chat and tuning in. And I agree. The show was entertaining, and we can all debate, should WWE have done this? Probably not, but they did it. And for what it was, again, I think the end result, we got 2 entertaining nights, and as a society, we were able to sit back, watch the show, and forget about our problems, even if it was just for a couple of hours. Ken Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, do you think Charlotte Flair won the NXT title because it's Ashley Flair's birthday, or WWE is pushing her as the top heel and has no faith in Belair? Good question there, Ken, and thank you for the super chat. I don't think it had anything to do with it being Charlotte's birthday. I think probably the idea was Vince really likes Charlotte, and WWE's trying to build up Charlotte as the female Ric Flair, giving her the record title reigns. And you guys know what's going to happen. Eventually, Charlotte's going to be a 16-time world champion. I think it's inevitable that that happens. And I think that's what this is all about, just trying to move her to that number and make her one of the GOATs in the women's division. I think that's what it's all about. Remember, Charlotte ended Asuka's streak. Charlotte headlined the first women's title match. It just could not be Becky versus Ronda one-on-one. Charlotte had to be in it. So I think even though Becky got the fans behind her and WWE had no other choice but to go with Becky, I think all along WWE has been trying to book Charlotte as their top female superstar. I just think that's who they want. Charlotte's the one. And Becky just happened to get the crowd reaction, so Becky got that spot. But I think Charlotte is still the person being groomed to be the greatest female superstar of all time. I think that's what it's all about. Adrian with the $2 super chat says, I think it's fair to say she will get 17 title reigns. She might. I think it's a very realistic possibility at this stage of the game. Next up, we had Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. A match which arguably had the best build-up. I would say Randy Orton versus Edge overall had the best build-up, but I think as far as just a storyline week to week that I was interested in, I think this had the best build-up. Now, before the match, we had Gronk interviewed about Mojo Rawley winning the 24/7 title on night 1, and Gronk vowed to win the title from Rawley before the night was over. This was the match where Michael Cole and JBL were on commentary for. Ziggler hit a super kick right off the bat, knocked Otis out of the ring. And by the way, Sonya Deville was out there in the corner of Ziggler. Otis made a comeback. He went for the caterpillar. Sonya got on the apron to distract Otis. Ziggler hit a low blow when the referee wasn't looking. Looked like it was the end for Otis, but then Mandy Rose made her entrance. She attacked Sonya Deville. She actually slapped her first and then beat the crap out of her. Then got in the ring, gave Ziggler a low blow. So what goes around comes around. And then Otis hit the caterpillar. We got his move. 1, 2, 3. Otis picked up the victory. But that's not all. After the match, Mandy raised his hand. Otis picked her up, held her in his arms, and then the two of them finally had their kiss. I loved it. Great ending. The only negative, and it's not WWE's fault, this match would have been even better with the live crowd. The big crowd pop for the kiss, that would have been awesome. But WWE was unable to have that happen, unfortunately, out of their control. Storyline ended perfectly the way it was supposed to end. Otis getting the girl. Happy ending. Thumbs up for this. The Game is on 100 with a $2 super chat says, who always happy Otis gets the girl in the end? That would be me. I was saying that this is how it needed to end, and we got it. We got the kiss. We got the feel-good moment. I'm glad by it. I just wish we had the crowd. Now we move on to the last man standing match. Edge versus Randy Orton, which I feel was a very polarizing match. I've seen people on social media praising this match, and I've seen people trashing the match. I'm somewhere in the middle. So I will say this. Edge and Randy Orton deserve all the credit in the world for busting their asses in this match. They worked really hard, but there were some flaws with this. Not all the flaws were their fault, though. Mike Nixon with a $5 super chat says, by the way, Aaron, on the kickoff, did you hear Corey Graves say, don't mix dating in the wrestling business? I must have missed that, but that is a true statement. I mean, we've seen a lot of couples break up in real life after they ended up in love triangle storylines and stuff like that. Perfect example, the whole Chris Benoit, Nancy Benoit, and Kevin Sullivan storyline that became real life. Speaking of Benoit, I will get to that in a second here. So let's recap the match, and then I'll give my overall thoughts. But first, Adrian with the $2 super chat says, it was solid but very slow-paced and way too long. Well, that is one of the overall thoughts on the match, but I'll give my take on it here in just a second, or a few seconds. This actually might go for a while. It was a long match. 36 minutes. So bear with me here, guys. I'm going to recap this, try to move this along pretty quickly. Edge came out first, and then Randy Orton's music hit. No Randy Orton. Edge was just standing there looking at the stage, and I'm thinking to myself, come on, Edge. He's going to try to sneak attack you. We've seen this so many times. As it turns out, Randy Orton was disguised as one of the cameramen. He snuck into the ring and gave Edge the RKO. I was not a fan of this because, to me as a fan, we all watch wrestling. We all know what happens here. Edge is a veteran. He's not a 20-year-old rookie that's going to get outsmarted by the heel. I just thought this made Edge look really dumb. He should know better that Orton might try a sneak attack. As soon as Orton did not come out there, you know something's up. You know there's shenanigans. So, yeah, was not a fan of this opening sequence. Hoof-hearted with a $2 super chat says, Aaron, sing You Can Look But You Can't Touch. I will do that later, but somebody needs to remind me. Not going to go off topic here for that. And Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Because there was no EC3, it made WrestleMania even better. Ouch, man. Psycho Jet Black, for those of you tuning in to one of these streams for the first time, Psycho Jet Black is our resident let's make fun of EC3 person. Adrian with a $2 super chat, and I will say this in the Randy Orton voice. Stupid, stupid, stupid babyface. Anyways, Orton hit the RKO. Edge got up. This was a last man standing match. Orton hit another RKO. Edge got up again. The fight quickly went all around the Performance Center. Pretty much every single square foot of the building. Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat says, I missed watching Edge work. Come on, this was dope. I enjoyed seeing Edge back in action. I thought that Edge put out a great performance for somebody that's been out for 9 years. I will give credit where credit is due. So these guys fought into the Performance Center. Orton was dominating for the most part. And then we had a very interesting moment here where Orton started to choke Edge with these weight cables that were in the Performance Center gym, of course. And I could not help but think to what happened with Chris Benoit, how he killed himself using his gym cables. Very interesting. Was this done on purpose, or did they not know what they were referencing when they did this? And I know I wasn't the only one, because there were a lot of tweets about Chris Benoit when this happened. So yeah, interesting sequence here, and I'm not sure why they did this. I mean, if it was accidental, you would think that somebody in the editing process would have said, maybe this is not the best thing to do, especially with the Dark Side of the Ring documentary just airing and it's fresh in everybody's minds. It was strange. It was a little uncomfortable, I think, for people. Cat Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat says, Rift, do you think when Edge came back, he lost his equal opportunist mindset? I have a feeling if Edge turned heel, he will get his edge back. Well, he's not exactly that Edge. You know, he is a 46-year-old with kids now. So he might still have a little bit of that inside of him, and maybe we'll see that over time, but it's not going to be exactly the same character as it was. You know, kind of like when Shawn Michaels came back. Shawn Michaels wasn't that arrogant, cocky SOB that he was in the 90s. He was a changed man. He evolved into a different person, a different character. So that's how I kind of see it with Edge too. Anyways, Edge came back. They fought into this hallway. They went into a meeting room, and then there was this cool moment where Edge grabbed onto this this fence that was above, this fence roofing that was above the table, and did a move using that as leverage, momentum. And a $2 super chat from a username who will not be acknowledged, and that person can be blocked. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, I wish Christian and Beth helped Edge beat up Orton. I thought that would have been a cool idea, but the problem is that Edge should not need help to win the match. I think if Orton had some backup and then Beth or Christian helped him, maybe that would have worked. But as it is, I think it was fine for what it was. And by the way, I do read off most super chats, but if you're going to be offensive, I'll take your money, but I'm not going to read your super chat. Just keep that in mind. You're just wasting your time. You're just giving me free money if you decide to make some offensive comments in the super chat. Anyways, they ended up in another room. There was a table. Edge put Orton on the table, and then he climbed up this ladder, which was funny because Edge in the 24 documentary, the WWE 24 interview documentary, he mentioned that he wasn't going to do all the old crazy spots with ladders and that sort of thing. And Beth Phoenix even tweeted about it. Edge climbed up to this platform using the ladder. did a flying elbow through the table, which I thought looked really cool. The only thing is, Kevin Owens did the same exact thing on the first night, flying elbow off a platform, except I thought that one was a little bit more memorable with the WrestleMania sign. And then we had the two of them going into the, I guess, parking garage area. I'm not sure what room this was. It was like a parking garage, I guess. There was a production truck. There was a smaller truck there. Randy Orton gave Edge a DDT on the truck, and then they started fighting on top of this production truck. Orton hit Edge with an RKO. Edge got up. Orton went and got some chairs. He came back up. He was going to give Edge the concerto. However, Edge managed to make another comeback. He put Orton in the submission hold that he used on MVP. And then Edge grabbed the chair. He was going to do the concerto to Orton. He was starting to hesitate. And then finally he got back into the zone. He regained his composure. He hit Orton with the concerto. And Orton was counted out of the match. Edge declared the winner of the last man standing match, which went 36 minutes long. DJ Whitey with a $5 super chat says, the ending could have been a little more dramatic, don't you think, Aaron? I was thinking like a spear off the 18-wheeler or something. Yeah, that might have been cool, but I like the idea of Edge using the concerto on Orton. I mean, it's poetic. So I thought the finish was fine. Here's my take on it. First of all, the lack of a crowd hurt this. I definitely think a last man standing match would have been better with an audience, with a live crowd. Second, it was too long. This was probably a good 10 to 15 minutes longer than it needed to be. I think maybe WWE should have done more editing. The problem with a last man standing match is they tend to go on the long side and there's a lot of dead air. So when you have no crowd reacting to anything, you just have that dead silence. And the announcers did nothing to add drama to this match. The announcing was terrible. Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton sounded like it was midnight and they were trying to stay quiet so their parents would not yell at them for making too much noise. Announcing was not good for this. That was probably the worst thing. Again, I think Edge and Orton worked their asses off, and I would not put any fault of this match on them. I think they tore it up. I think the fault goes in WWE and the commentators. I think post-production they should have edited this down, you know. Maybe cut out a few of those 10 counts, maybe take out one sequence in the room. And again, with the grunting and everything, you know, it was a little bit of a distraction. But overall, I mean, A for effort as far as the performances of Edge and Orton go. Tony H with a $2 super chat says, for Edge's next match, it should be against AJ Styles. And Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat says, makes you really miss Jim Ross. I agree on that. I think Mauro Ranallo would have been great for this. Even Michael Cole and JBL, I think, would have been better than Phillips and Saxton. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, good match, not a great match. I agree on that. As the whole package goes, I give it maybe a B- or a C+. And I know some people are not going to like that. But at the same time, I also feel people are being generous because it's Edge, you know. Rose-tinted glasses, you know, and I'm an Edge fan too, you know, I really wanted to see an all-time classic here, but I don't think it was a classic. I think it was a good match, but could have been better. That's my take on it. Definitely too long. Now we move on here to the Raw Tag Team Titles match. we have the Street Profits against Austin Theory and Angel Garza. And before I get to that, Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, Edge versus The Fiend to bring back Rated R Superstar. Well, we could very well end up seeing that, although I guess Edge is technically part of Raw right now. I don't know. I guess Edge is one of those guys that could really compete on either brand. You know, he's a part-timer, so who knows? Oh, and I forgot to mention, before the tag match, we had Gronk, as expected, pinning Mojo Rawley to capture the 24/7 title, and Titus O'Neil ended up taking his place as the host for the rest of WrestleMania. And Autumn Falson says I'm wrong. Edge and Orton was a good 80s style match. I said it was a good match. I just said it wasn't a great match. So we had the Street Profits against Garza and Theory. Again, felt like an average Raw TV match. Really, the story was the post-match. So Austin Theory went for a pinfall on Dawkins. Ford hit the frog splash onto Theory, and then Dawkins pinned Theory to win the match. Street Profits retain the tag team titles. After the match, Angel Garza and Theory attacked the Street Profits, beat the crap out of them. Zelina Vega got into the mix. She gave Ford a super kick, and then all of a sudden, Bianca Belair, the real-life wife of Montez Ford, made the save. She beat the crap out of Zelina Vega, hit her finisher, and then we had the Street Profits and Bianca Belair celebrating together. I thought this was a cool way to introduce Bianca Belair to the main roster. Looks like she's getting the call up, so thumbs up for the post-match. That was pretty cool. To me, that was a WrestleMania-worthy segment, a nice debut for Bianca Belair. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, this was my bathroom break match. When I came back, it was over. And then OG85 with a $2 super chat says, Night 1 was much better than Night 2. Again, I will give my take on it at the very end, which night I thought was better. All right, guys, now we talk about the Firefly Funhouse match. All right, this was something else, guys. John Cena came out to the stage for his entrance, but then all of a sudden we had the interruption. We cut over to the Firefly Funhouse segment with Bray Wyatt. He talked about how John Cena is going to face his most dangerous opponent yet, himself. All of a sudden, John Cena popped into the Funhouse. Cena wanted to know, where did where did Bray Wyatt go? Rambling Rabbit, as I was trying to say, told Cena that Wyatt went through the door. Cena went through the door. All of a sudden, he was in this dark room. Shout out to Caleb Jacobs with a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. And DJ Whitey with a $2 super chat says, this was hilarious. What an acting job by Cena. And Josh Mansfield with a $2 super chat says, you forgot the SmackDown Women's title match. Oh, I did. Wait a minute. All right, I will have to backtrack on that then. You're right. I skipped the SmackDown Women's title match. Thank you for reminding me. I might have very well skipped over that completely if you did not remind me. So, John Cena was in this dark room, and all of a sudden the Vince McMahon puppet showed up and told John Cena he wants to see some ruthless aggression. And he said he better see some ruthless aggression or John Cena will be fired. We cut to John Cena making his debut in 2002. And then all of a sudden, John Cena appeared current day. We had the SmackDown Fist make an appearance. John Cena in his original 2002 gear in the ring with Bray Wyatt. Cena kept repeating the line, ruthless aggression. He kept swinging at Wyatt. He missed repeatedly. Fiend was taunting him. He even made a reference to Nikki Bella. You can look, but you can't touch. That was a super chat request from earlier, so I apologize for that. But the Fiend did make a reference to Nikki Bella with that line. And then we had a transition. We transitioned into the introduction of Saturday night's main event from 1985. We had Bray Wyatt cutting a 1980s wrestling promo. There was a blue steel cage in front of him. He introduced John Cena as his tag team partner. Then all of a sudden, the segment transitioned again. John Cena was the doctor of thugonomics. Cena was cutting this rap promo on Wyatt. Wyatt responded by talking about how Cena is this horrible person. We had dramatic music playing. Cena responded by saying, in the Doctor of Thugonomics style, that Wyatt was going to get D's nuts. He went to attack Wyatt, but Wyatt punched out John Cena. And then we had another transition to Bray Wyatt in his 2004 ring gear, talking about his grandest failure at WrestleMania 30. Wyatt said it's time to rewrite his own story. He grabbed Cena. He went for Sister Abigail. Cena broke out of it. And then Wyatt gave Cena a steel chair. At WrestleMania 34, Cena was going to use a steel chair on Bray Wyatt, but did not do it. Wyatt said now is the time for Cena to do what he did not do 6 years ago. Cena swung the chair, but he missed. And then we had yet another transition to NWO/WCW Monday Nitro. This shit just got even crazier. Bray Wyatt was cutting a promo as Eric Bischoff. He introduced Hollywood John Cena. Cena came out as Hogan, playing the NWO Championship like a guitar. We had the Vince McMahon puppet along with the Macho Buzzard on commentary. And the Vince puppet said, "This is such good shit." And this was the highlight of WrestleMania Night 2. Maybe both nights. I was seriously cracking up at this. Boston Punk with a $2 super chat says, the Vince puppet saying this is good shit and the emoji laughing. I agree, Boston Punk. This was great. I love the Buzzard as Macho Man also. That was funny too. At Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat saying NWO Cena is straight out of WWE 2K Create a Wrestler. So I guess technically we just got our John Cena heel turn, right guys? Because John Cena came out as Hollywood Hogan. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, more a segment than a match. It was hilarious. And then Psycho Jet Black with a super chat of $2 says, thank John Moxley for the Vince line. Absolutely. That it was all John Moxley that got this going. So anyways, John Cena started throwing punches at Wyatt, but then Wyatt transitioned into Husky the Pig. Cena was punching Husky instead of Wyatt. As this was happening, the Fiend finally appeared. The Fiend creeped up behind Cena and put the mandible claw on. And then Bray Wyatt, Mr. Rogers, did the 1, 2, 3. So I guess the Fiend beat John Cena at WrestleMania. Cena disappeared, and that was the end of the segment. Titus O'Neil, back at the Performance Center, reacted by saying, I don't know what I just saw. And that's pretty much how all of us felt. This was crazy. Ted Terminated by Google with a $5 super chat, or a $3 super chat says, Bray Wyatt or Monday NyQuil Steve Austin from ECW? I guess you could say that. He was maybe mocking Bischoff in that manner, but I just saw it as like a general Eric Bischoff parody. The game is on 100 with a $10 super chat says, WTF was that Firefly Funhouse match? It didn't make sense. That just insulted people's intelligence. That was a waste of time in my opinion. I know people are happy for The Fiend here. Give me a break. I was entertained by it. It was a skit. I would not even call this a match in the fantasy world of wrestling. I know we did the no DQ predictions, and Noah Foster, I'm protesting because I did pick Cena to win this, but to me this should just be thrown out. I'm gonna make this argument. This was a skit, and in the fantasy realm of WWE, this was not real life. This was a nightmare. This was all in John Cena's head. We were seeing a John Cena dream, a nightmare. This was a Freddy Krueger Nightmare on Elm Street type of skit. John Cena was having a bad dream and he got killed at the end of the dream, but it was not real. It was just a dream. The question is, did he die in real life? If the answer is no, then this does not count as far as I'm concerned. Brandon with a $5 super chat says, who do you think had creative control of this segment? Goofy but entertaining. I'm guessing Bray Wyatt and John Cena were able to do whatever they want for this, but I'm guessing some information will come out about this. I know for the Undertaker AJ Styles skit, Triple H, Michael Hayes, Jeremy Borash, Undertaker himself, they all pitched in ideas. Probably similar for this one. And it definitely felt like John Cena and Bray Wyatt had a lot of input in this. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, props to both guys for making it work. At the end of the day, the goal is to be entertained, and I don't think it would be a good idea to do this on a regular basis, but under the circumstances, I say you throw the rules out the window. The goal of this WrestleMania was to make people forget about their problems. And for diehard wrestling fans, there were so many cool references. The NWO, John Cena's debut, the SmackDown Fist. I mean, so many little references. The blue steel cage, Saturday night's main event. I mean, it was so much fun. Like, I would go back and watch this, and I'm going to. I want to go back and watch it and see what I missed, because I'm sure there were little references that I did not catch. And, the Vince, this is good shit. It was just fun. And if it was something for the diehard wrestling fans to have a good time with. All these little references to the past. It was just fun. Yes, it was totally over the top. It was a skit. It was theater. But at the end of the day, we're watching this to be entertained. King Kaiser SW with a $2 super chat says, do you think Bray Wyatt will introduce a John Cena puppet? I don't think so. I think this was it. Unless Cena comes back and they decide to do a proper match. But I think this was, just something to do to entertain the people and then move on. I don't know if this is what they would have done per se if it was in front of 80,000 people. They probably would have just had a match, or as close to a match as you would get with the Fiend character. Mike Garcia with the $2 super chat says, The Rock and Mankind, empty arena, they never gave excuses. Rock and Mankind had a great empty arena match. That one was really fun, and The Rock, he was the master of trash talking in that match. He made that match so entertaining, and so did Mankind. To me, that was still the best empty arena match of all time, as far as I'm concerned. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, which is better, the Firefly Funhouse or the Boneyard match? I mean, I was entertained by both, and honestly, I think they were quite a bit different. That's the thing. WWE could have done something very similar, but they chose to go in a different direction with the Firefly Funhouse. The Boneyard match was a fight. It was a fight done in a cinematic movie fashion. This was just more of a skit than a match. This guy experience with the $2 super chat says the Firefly Funhouse was the best match. It was funny and crazy great. Again, I don't even know if I would call it a match. It was a skit. Caleb Jacobs with a $2 super chat says, I'm sorry about the past, Aaron. I sent you a request. No problems with that, Caleb. Water under the bridge. I hope we're cool. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. So yeah, I was entertained by it. Which was better? I really don't know. I would probably go with the Boneyard match as far as being more satisfying, but I was entertained by both. And again, I almost feel like they're apples and oranges. Like they're too different to really compare. So let's move on here. Before we get to the main event, I do need to talk about the SmackDown Women's title match, which I almost completely skipped over. Bayley versus Lacey Evans versus Naomi versus Sasha Banks versus Tamina. And we had Tamina getting taken out of the equation early. She came back in, dominated everybody. We did have a moment with Team Bad having a confrontation, a little bit of a tease that they would reunite, but then they started fighting against each other. Actually, it was Tamina that just took them out with super kicks. Then that backfired on her because everybody teamed up on Tamina and pinned her. She was the first one eliminated. I had actually forgotten that this was an elimination match at first. So when Tamina got pinned, I'm like, oh, it's an elimination match. I forgot. Naomi was the next one out. She tapped out to the bank statement. It was down to Lacey, Bayley, and Sasha. Some miscommunication between Bayley and Sasha. Bayley accidentally knocked Sasha out of the ring. Sasha got back into the ring and argued with Bayley. Before this, Lacey was trying to pin Bayley when Sasha was out of the ring. Sasha eventually got back in but started arguing with Bayley. Lacey took advantage of this. She gave the women's right to Sasha. She scored the pinfall on Sasha. And the storyline here was that maybe Bayley could have saved Sasha from being pinned, but she did not do it. JBL was making this clear on commentary. Lacey was on the verge of winning on a couple of occasions. She had a moonsault from the top, got a near fall. But then all of a sudden, Sasha came back into the ring, hit the backstabber, and then Bayley pinned Lacey Evans to retain the SmackDown Women's title. Sasha grabbed the title, held it up there for a second, but then gave it to Bayley and raised her hand. So I liked this. Good storyline progression here, slow burn build up. I think if everything goes well, according to plan, Sasha can turn babyface. SummerSlam, Boston, heel Bayley versus babyface Sasha. That could be a huge match for SummerSlam. Hopefully, like I said, everything goes right. We can have this match in an arena as scheduled. That will be a pretty spectacular match for SummerSlam. So I liked this. Well done. Slow burn with the storyline. Hopefully we get it in the arena. This guy experienced with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. He says, does this mean the Fiend can do the FU? Question mark. Belair is going to get destroyed on the main roster. She should just stay in NXT. Charlotte and Becky are the new Roman. Well, I mean, I've definitely seen some people calling Charlotte the female Roman Reigns. I've seen that quite a bit over the past few years. We'll see. Bianca has a lot of charisma, and I like the pairing, pairing Bianca Belair up with her real-life husband. The three of them as a trio. I like it. I think it has some potential. So we'll see what happens. A lot of people think Bianca can be a top star. So will they blow it like they've done with other acts? Quite possible. We'll just have to wait and see. Adrian with a $2 super chat says, repeat of Triple H and Batista storyline. Well, I mean, I think they're doing a good job with it so far. If you're going to repeat a storyline, that's a good one to repeat. Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat says, you ever watch old WrestleManias? How much do you miss The Rock? A lot. The Rock, one of the greatest performers of all time. Like I said, that empty arena match with Mankind was fantastic. The Rock was extremely entertaining during that match. I mean, that was when The Rock was really reaching that next level as a performer. So if you guys have never seen that match, it was the halftime Heat empty arena match. I highly recommend checking it out. All right, now we move on to the main event of the evening. Brock Lesnar versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title. It was pretty much the same thing as Braun Strowman versus Bill Goldberg, but better. Better match, although kind of the same idea. I mean, it was basically big move, big move, big move, big move, and not much else. Lesnar went right after McIntyre, but McIntyre came back, hit the Claymore, and Lesnar kicked out of it. This was all within about a minute. Lesnar took McIntyre to Suplex City for a little bit, hit the F5. McIntyre kicked out at 1. Lesnar then hit 2 more F5s. McIntyre kicked out of both of them. McIntyre then made a comeback, hit 3 Claymores to Lesnar, and pinned Lesnar to win the title. I'm not sure the match length of this, but it was close to the Goldberg match. I mean, it's what we all wanted to see, Drew McIntyre winning the title. It just sucks that there was no crowd there for the big moment. No intro from Paul Heyman, as Psycho Jet Black mentioned with the $2 super chat. I was a little surprised by that. Drew McIntyre, new WWE champion. I feel bad for the guy. I'm happy he's the champion, but I feel sad that he did not get his moment in the stadium. So, I mean, nice ending to the show. Happy for Drew. And overall, fun show. Now, the big question is, which night was better? I know a lot of people are going to debate about this. I want to check the poll that I did. Let's see here. 53% said Saturday and 46% said Sunday. So that is very close. And I do think it's close. I would give the slight edge, and I'm not talking about Adam Copeland, I would give the slight edge to night 1. Night 2 ran a little longer, and you guys know I like the shorter shows. I like the Boneyard match ending the show, and I liked Owens and Rollins a lot, but there were some really good things on night 2 as well. Nola Boy with the $2 super chat says, so what's next for WWE, or are they taking a hiatus? I don't think they're going to take a hiatus if they can help it. We did get an advertisement for Money in the Bank. And at this time, the event in Baltimore for May 10th has not been canceled. You can go on Ticketmaster and buy a ticket for Money in the Bank. My feeling is it's going to get canceled, though. So if you buy a ticket, you're just going to end up getting refunded on it. But it looks like hell or high water, WWE is going to try and do Money in the Bank on May 10th. Nelson Moreno with a $5 super chat says, it seems like every time Paul Heyman doesn't announce Lesnar, Brock loses. Interesting. I did not pick up on that. Maybe I'll have to go back and watch. And of course, Paul Heyman saying the promo on Raw, like, the thing that hurts about when Brock Lesnar loses is that we all know what's going to happen because it happens every year, like Paul Heyman said. Next year, WrestleMania, Brock's probably going to be the champion again, defending against the next guy WWE's trying to push as the top star. Rinse, wash, repeat. That's why it's hard for me to get into Drew being the champion. I mean, are they still going to be going with this guy as the top guy in 6 months? Or are they going to put the title right back on Lesnar and then they're going to start pushing their next guy? Rinse, wash, repeat. If I knew Drew was going to get the push and be the top guy for a long time, then it would be easier for me to really sink my teeth into this title win. DJ Whitey with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, DJ. He says, I feel like overall I like the fact you can hear the talent talking trash during the matches. With a crowd, we don't know what the talent is saying. I do agree on that, and I think that they did adapt in that regard by doing more trash talking. I think they do it sometimes, especially at house shows. They tend to do it more, but it was more noticeable because of the lack of a crowd. And they probably did more because of the circumstances. And Mike Garcia with the $2 super chat says, why do I miss the Attitude Era? I'm pathetic comparing. Attitude Era was a very creative period in wrestling. And whether you loved or hated the cinematic segments we got over the weekend, it was something different. It was creative. And that's important. And I'm glad WWE is being creative. Even if they're being forced to be more creative now, we're getting something different, which I like. And I think is a positive. Because you never know what the next big thing is until you take a chance and try something different. Darren Frazier with a $9.99 super chat. Thank you for that, Darren. He says, I hated the main event. Brock is not Goldberg. He should be able to do more than just 2 moves. Night 1 is better. Only positive for both main events is 2 new world champions who never won the big one. I agree on that, Darren. I just wish, again, that Drew had that WrestleMania crowd. Plus, it was in a scenario where we all know, in all likelihood, like Paul Heyman said, next year Brock's going to be the champion again, facing somebody else. And who knows what Drew McIntyre will be doing. Hoof-Hearted with a $2 super chat says, I notice they don't whisper into each other as much. Well, yeah, they definitely want to be more careful about not calling spots. And the thing is about the pre-taped show is they can also stop if they need to, and they can edit things and that sort of thing. So there isn't much of a need to call out spots since they're taping the match. And it's not like a one take, you have to get it right the first time scenario. Mike Garcia with a $2 super chat says, what is your favorite match of The Rock and feud? Favorite Rock match, probably WrestleMania 17 or 19. And Steve Austin. You know, Steve Austin and The Rock, arguably next to Austin and McMahon, the biggest box office feud of all time in WWE. Anyways, guys, I give the slight edge to night 1, but both shows were really fun. I was entertained both nights. Thank you, WWE. I know it's not the best timing to be running shows, and you know there is that whole debate about putting talent at risk by even doing these shows, but my attitude is if they were not forced to do it, they volunteered to do it, then I'm okay with it. WWE apparently told the talents nobody has to do this, and WWE tested everybody to the best of their abilities, so I'm okay with it. Mike Nixon with a $2 super chat says, Aaron, who does Drew McIntyre feud with next? Is it Seth Rollins? I could definitely see that happening. Makes sense to me. Rollins challenging McIntyre for the title. I would expect to see that at some point. I do think safety and health of the wrestlers should come first. And, it's a tough call, like I've said. WWE, they're trying to keep their business going as much as possible. But at the same time, you do not want to compromise the well-being of your performers. But I think, again, under the circumstances, WWE did the best they could with what they had. They played the cards they were dealt to the best of the company's ability. So thank you guys very much for watching both nights. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed the live stream, please share it, tell a friend, subscribe, all that stuff, and go over to nodq.com/merch, pick up a t-shirt, a hat, get 20% off your order using the code MANIA. nodq.com/merch. Take care, everybody. Be safe. I will be back tomorrow night again to discuss Monday Night Raw. And real quick here, Big Rocker Johnson with a $2 super chat says, Cena's Instagram page just became a Bray Wyatt fan page. Nice. John Cena is really entertaining when it comes to his Instagram page. I love the photos he was posting of Husky Harris. Great stuff. Take care, everybody. See you next time. And thank you. I appreciate